In December 2025, Dom Taylor walked into the press room at the World Darts Championship, having won a match on the stage at Alexandra Palace. Everything that he'd been working towards. In the press conference, he was asked a question about a ban that he'd experienced a year before for a failed drugs test. Dom is with me here to chat about what happened then, what happened since. And I do want to start there, just get straight into it, Dom. We've had a little chat before this. You're happy to talk about everything that's happened in the last year or so as well. When you went into that press conference and you got asked that question, the split second before you started answering, what was going through your mind at the time?
I think I was still, probably wrong use of words, but high on adrenaline. Mm-hmm. And I was just buzzing from the win, I guess. And then when they asked the question, it was a case of the denial that I had been telling myself, the lies I've been telling myself, family, managers, everyone around me.
You called that previous ban, that previous mistake the biggest letdown of your life. Was any part of that true?
Yeah, of course it was. But having this illness and addiction, trying to live with it is a mountain in itself, and as I learned going through rehab, it's an illness, and I'm always going to live with it.
How long had you been kind of going through that, telling other people, whether it be the media, friends, family, maybe even yourself, the version that they wanted to hear?
While I've been playing darts?
Yeah.
So while I've been playing darts from the start, I mean, I've been telling myself that I'm okay since I was 14, 15 when everything started. Mm-hmm.
And you have spoken about that publicly since. Tell us what happened in your teenage years.
So basically, as I found out in rehab, that there's just, you can be born with an addiction, and it doesn't kick in until there's one trigger in your life. And I believe and found out that trigger was when I found my nan dead at 12. And then just every year after that, I had life events happen. My dad fell seriously ill. My brother had a heart attack and died for 45 minutes at school, now lives with a defibrillator. I had loads of family issues. My other brother had a really serious knee injury. And just lots of things happened in early teen years, and I wasn't able to deal with it properly. And I guess that's where the drugs come into my life, and that is my way of dealing with it. And then 7 years ago, I lost my daughter, and that was the real nail on the head where it all got serious and affected my life.
I mean, it's a lot, isn't it, for anyone at any age? But I mean, you spoke about all this starting at 12. I mean, what kind of support did you have, if any, at that point?
So when I found my nan dead, I went into counselling and done this thing called CALMS and anger management and all sorts of things like that. And we thought it helped me, but I guess really I covered that up by then using substances and drinking. I wasn't a massive drinker, like I didn't binge drink, it was more when I was playing darts, but the smoking cannabis, and then that was for a year or 2 years, and then the cocaine parted way into my life, and they just come together and helped me numb the pain.
You mentioned the counselling when you were young. Did that work in any way? Did you let that work? Did you give it a fair go?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was doing it for a fair while, and I know me and my brother went to anger management together, and because he when my nan's husband died, he struggled massively because he was close with him. So I think he joined me in parts of it as well. And as I said, I'd done it for about a year, maybe 2, and we thought it helped, but then I just resolved to other things, fighting in school, as I said, smoking cannabis, then cocaine come into my life, and again, that was my way of numbing the pain and forgetting about everything.
I know you look at things very differently now, looking back and what you've been through over the last few months, but at the time, somewhere in there, I guess you decided that you needed to find a way to cope. Was that your way of coping?
Yeah, 100%. Everyone has their coping mechanisms. you hear some. I'm a big fan of UFC, so you hear some fighters, their coping mechanism is fighting, and that's why they got into the training. Boxers, everyone has their own coping mechanism, and maybe it was the people that I was brought up. I'm from a small village in Bristol, and there was a lot of drug users in that village when I was growing up. I mean, my parents didn't know until I was 16, and at that point I was moving out anyway, so they couldn't really control what I was doing to an extent.
So you live in this life of addiction, self-medicating, if you like, looking at ways to cope, escape, I suppose. Where does darts come into it? Or how did that sort of impact your life? Where did that fit in?
So I started playing darts at an early age. My dad had me stood on a chair at 4. I was in pubs with him playing at 10, 11. And I guess that's where the alcohol also stemmed me as well, because I was a big lad. I was in the pub with my dad in the local village. It was only a small village, but at that time we had about 13 pubs. And having one of the biggest families in the village, they was like, yeah, okay, you're with your parents, you can have 1 or 2 drinks. So I'm guessing at a young age, that is enough to stimulate your brain and help you get through things anyway. And then plus with everything else, because I remember finishing work, having darts on the evening, finishing work about 8 o'clock, smoking cannabis on the way down to the pub, then drinking, and then playing darts. So it was going from a young age.
I'm going to guess you didn't have to be stood on a chair for very many years, Dom.
No.
When did you realise you were good?
So I think the talent really started to creep in when I was 14. I then signed for Somerset County with my dad, playing a lot. Got dartitis for 2 years, so I kept trying to play, but like slowed it down a little bit. 16, graduated again in darts and got better. But when I first really got off the ball rolling was 2020 when I lost my daughter, because I had a reason to do it and actually put my head down and achieve something.
You mentioned dartitis there. You had that at 16, I think again at 20-ish as well.
14 and then 16. Okay. Yeah, I've had it a couple times.
With that, what was the feeling there? Because you've obviously found something that could be your way out of this, this sort of situation you got yourself in. For that to feel like it might be getting snatched away, what was that like?
So the first time it was horrendous. I tried everything: tennis balls in the back garden, bricks, stones, extra dart in hand, cocktail stick, just ghost throwing, everything, and it didn't seem to budge. So I couldn't stop myself going to darts. But for about 6 months, I went out to darts without taking my darts and just kept picking up random people's darts. And just one day I woke up and the throw seemed to be okay. And then the next time I got it, my head was too strong when it come to the dart side of it, and said, no, you're not beating me this time, and just battled through it.
Tell us about then that sort of journey into professional darts and when things started sort of taking off for you.
So 2020, I believe it was, I first went on development tour. I think it took about a year or two, I can't quite remember what year it was, to get my first win on the development tour. And that weekend I reached 4 finals. And then the following year, I believe it was, I then won a challenge tour. I've been to Q school for a few years running. And then 2024, I went to Q school. I had gained my card through points. I think it was the last 16 game. And then I went on to win the day on the last day. But it was funny that year because first day I lost first round, then lost in the final. I can't remember who it was to, and then lost first round again, and then went and won the last day.
You've got all this ability, all this potential. We've seen some of it here on this stage. and in the background, you're still fighting these sort of demons silently. Did anybody else know what you were going through?
No, I kept it away from everyone, just through the raw fact of fear of what people would think of me. And it's the true saying, and I put it out as I put it out on my Facebook. What Paddy Pimblett said after one of his fights is a raw emotion that men can't talk, and we bottle it up and try and deal with it our own way.
We'll come on to the fact that you have spoken about it and what that might have changed for you since then, but I do want to speak about the couple of bans. First time when that happened, when you get the test, were you taking the test, and then when you know the results of the test,
Yeah.
what are you feeling then?
I
mean, do you know straight away that it's going to come up positive?
In my head, no. As an addict, no. You're in denial. You're thinking you're going to get away with it. The one thing, I'd never done it when I was at darts. It was sort of when I was at home in my own head.
Because you were trying to protect your career.
Yeah. And my mind was busy all the time when I was playing. So I didn't need anything because my brain, I've been diagnosed with ADHD now as well. So that part of it, my brain constantly needs to be working. And I think when I'm at darts, it's that getaway to set free. But I think it was at Wigan on one of the Pro Tours around September time. And I had the results back after a couple of weeks, and then the addict in me tried fighting it, and tried getting it retested, and they come back and said it's too high. There's no point in getting it retested. You're just going to cost yourself more money.
And when you say the addict in you, you're talking about characteristics like denial.
Yeah, being in denial and trying to say to yourself that you wasn't on it, you didn't take anything, when really deep down you knew you did.
I mean, you spoke about that first time. You get severe consequences from that the first time. You missed out on your place.
I mean, I got told that I was being suspended. I had already got down to Butlins.
Yep.
I was literally just getting ready to go out for food to start preparing for my game in the evening against Michael Smith, and had the phone call from my manager saying, you need to come down and speak to us. You're being suspended indefinitely, immediately.
And what were the next few weeks and months like then?
Horrendous. The car journey home was dead silent, just all the thoughts going on in my head. I had to try and explain to my parents, my manager, everyone around me, my family, everyone around me, why. And I didn't have an answer for it because I didn't know myself.
At that point, you say you didn't know the answer for it. At that point, did you not regard yourself as an addict? Did you think you had a problem? Where were you with all that then?
No, I believed I just liked the tinkle. I didn't, again, being the addict, I didn't think that I was doing it that much. Until later on, when obviously we'll get to it, but the second time happened and I was clearly doing it more than I thought I was. And because when you're doing it so often, you don't think you're doing it as often as you are.
What's interesting is you mentioned it there, that in a strange way, darts was kind of giving you the same thing that drugs were giving you, giving you that escape. And then your punishment for the drugs is taking away the darts. So where does that leave you?
In a very big hole. Mental health getting even worse. I mean, obviously I missed out on the Players' Championships and the Worlds in my first year, which is the two main ones that I wanted to qualify for. So the mental health state was bad. So I thought I was going to bounce back and thought I was going to be okay.
And that kind of, we'll get to it now, that next World Championship, that was, to the world, the kind of redemption story, wasn't it? That, you know, Dom Taylor's back at the World Championship, taking the place he should have had last year, get on stage, win a match. I mentioned at the start, you go in that press room and you are inevitably asked about the year before. You mentioned adrenaline before, that was running through, but I mean, was that fear just hanging over you?
Yeah, probably. Because so I walked off the stage and Graham Fairhurst was stood at the bottom and said, Don, we're taking you up for testing. And then I went into the press room, done my interview first. Obviously, I hadn't done the test.
Okay.
So in my head, I'm filled with adrenaline, everything's going through me. I'm getting fired with these questions and being put on the spot as such. And with the adrenaline, again, it was being in denial and lying to myself and thinking I was going to get away with lying to everyone else and the whole world.
Did you think you were going to get away with it, or was it a small part of you?
No, deep down inside, I probably really thought I knew I wasn't going to get away with it. But as you learn, if anyone has been through it or has suffers with the illness, you know that you'll do anything to try and hide it and to try to get away with it.
Do you think there might have been a small part of you that wanted to get caught?
Looking back now, it's probably the best thing that could have happened to me.
But obviously won't have felt like that at the time.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a shame it had to come to the way it come to for me to realise and for things to be the way they are now. But yeah, it's probably a blessing in disguise.
In terms of how it unfolded that time, obviously the World Championship gets bigger and bigger every year. The spotlight was incredible. Obviously the PDC released their statement. Where were you in all this at the time? I know it took you a little while to say something yourself. Were you sort of head buried in the sand?
Yeah, so I literally hid away at home. It ruined, to an extent, ruined my Christmas, ruined my family's Christmas. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I went from on top of the world to underneath rocks, and in a massive hole, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. And yeah, it took me a while to get round to understanding what had happened and realising what had happened.
How quickly did this become the time when you decided, right, I really need to sort this out?
I think it was as soon as I had the phone call on the 19th of December. I had the phone call to say that the results had been back and I was suspended immediately and wasn't playing. I didn't fully know the extent of the suspension or the repercussions that would come with it, but I knew that I had rawly screwed up.
Obviously, we'll talk about how it affected you in a moment, but there were other impacts as well. Obviously, a game less at the World Championship in the next round. Johnny Clayton gets a bye. I mean, in a way, that's probably a good thing for him. Oscar Lukasiak, obviously, he was knocked out 3-0 in the first round. Have you spoken to those guys ever? Have you?
I haven't, no. Part of my program is to make amends later on, which they're definitely on the list, especially for Oscar, and trying to figure out what I could actually say to him, because I know it probably ruined his Christmas being knocked out, but it's affected my whole life. So I do feel for Oscar. I mean, it helped Johnny get towards the Premier League. So I'm sure he's thanking me somewhere along the lines. But yeah, if I was to see Oscar, I would apologise, and I wasn't physically actively on it at the time of play against him. But I guess where I was doing so much, it was still in my system after so many days. And yeah, I would probably just apologise and try and see if he could understand the position that I was in as well after that.
Yeah, I do want to come on to that impact on you in a second, but also I think your manager at the time said it took him 3 or 4 weeks to feel like he could speak to you. What was that like?
I was worried that he wasn't going to stick by me, and I appreciate everything he's done and is still doing, and to stick by me through such a hard time. And I messaged him saying, I understand any decision you want to make from here on. If you don't want to stand by me and the contract's through, then I totally understand and I appreciate everything you've done.
It feels like you have, and you kind of mentioned for all the previous years, and a lot of it, albeit teenage years when you were still sort of growing into a man, still developing, getting to grips with the world and the horrible things that you'd had to face in your life. It feels like now you really have taken responsibility. When did that happen? Was that was there a moment, or is it a?
I think so. I think I got offered. I had a phone call and got offered a place at a residential rehab on the, I want to say 27th, 28th, to go in on the 5th of January. And I said I said, just hold that with me. Let me speak to my family. I felt in my head that I wanted to do it straight away. And so I spoke to my family and they said, yes, best thing this been offered to you. So I think at that moment when they're offering me a residential rehabilitation center, they know that there's a problem. So I need to wake up and smell the coffee and realize that I've got a problem.
And this is abstinence-based recovery, right? So you completely have to stop.
So when I got halfway through the therapy, I was speaking to my therapist and obviously explained that I played darts and that I was choosing not to drink. And she said that if I felt comfortable enough and didn't feel the need not to stop drinking, because it wasn't my problem and I wasn't in rehab for alcohol. I didn't have to. I could have a drink if I wanted to. And my immediate response was, no, I'm not going to, because I know what, for me as an addict, what comes with it and the demons I fight as soon as I drink.
So you kind of identified that as almost like a gateway drug.
Yeah, and if anyone's been in rehab or on the program and doing the 12 steps, they know that it's all mind-altering substances, and 1,000's not enough and one is too many. And it's all the same: gambling, drinking, smoking, sniffing, injecting. It's all the same, and alcohol is a liquid form of drug.
What was that 28 days like? What was your experience like?
Hard emotionally, draining. Learned a lot, not just about myself, but about the addiction itself and the illness, and understanding that it's an illness. And that's how I know now that I can sit back and say that I was born with it, because before, as I said, I thought I just liked it. And that there's a lot of help out there, that if anyone's struggling. So I went to a specific clinic called Sport and Chance through the PDPA. And that is literally sporting athletes throughout. So I was in there with a couple of footballers and a horse jockey. They were in there for alcoholism and cocaine. So it's a mixture of everything, and you do everything to help you through. We were getting up and going to the gym for 6:30 in the morning. So straight away, there's a massive change in your life, being physical every single day. We had a personal trainer, and then we were doing workshops throughout the day, meditation. You just learn a lot about yourself and how to cope with life without the addiction.
In sport, around a lot of the sort of main addictions, you mentioned gambling, drug use, they're all banned within sport. So for sports people, what's the juxtaposition like of getting treatment for an illness, but at the same time serving a ban as punishment for the same thing that you're getting treatment for?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because obviously I found out that I didn't get my results of my suspension of how long I was getting until halfway through, when I was in the clinic. But there was someone in there that was still working as a coach for football, and he literally had to tell his football team that he was going on holiday or whatever until it come out in the media that he was in rehab for alcoholism.
Yeah, the chairman of the PDPA, I think, in an interview said that third offence would be an immediate lifetime ban.
Yeah.
How did
correct.
that feel to hear that?
A right kick up the backside, and made me realise that obviously I found that out in my hearing, and that was the real wake up call halfway through my rehabilitation to say, you're doing this, is now or never, it's do or die. If you want to continue playing darts, then you need to learn about yourself and get through this.
I mean, I suppose a lot of people would say the hardest bit of, or the hardest two parts of rehab, going in and coming out. So how have you managed to cope with life after that?
Going in was very hard. My dad dropped me off. I think I was fine on the way down there. And then when I got my suitcase out of the car, dropped it in, I then went outside, had a cigarette, and got on the phone to my mum. And I just opened up the floodgates of tears. And I was like, oh, I'm here, but this is going to be hard. And then I got through it. The lads I was in there with made it a lot easier. There was someone in there that was my age, so that made it a lot easier for myself. And then there was also a middle-aged and then two older guys that one of them we called our dad while we was in there, and it was a family. And we speak on WhatsApp daily, weekly, and we've got a nice family. So the lads made it a lot easier being in there. Obviously, it was still hard going through everything emotionally, getting angry, going through all the cycles of everything that your body's going to feel. But we all knew that the real test was when we were coming out.
And what's that been like? You mentioned a recovery program. How do you apply that program to your everyday life?
Attending meetings. So the good thing with the technology nowadays is there's an app. I can attend a meeting right now if I wanted to. There's meetings 24 hours, 7 days a week online. And there's also millions of live meetings around the world that you can go to. And just following the steps, being around the right people and taking control. And you learn about it all in rehab, and I've got a list of things that I need to concentrate on, and being able to look after myself and take it one day at a time.
You've started playing darts again, obviously. That's another step, I suppose, in that journey, getting back into the world of darts. What was that like, going back to your first tournament?
Yeah, it was hard because I was only able to play certain things. Obviously, with my suspension being under the DRA, that I couldn't play in any ADC sanctioned events or anything. So, and around Bristol, that's all it was. So I could only go to certain things. But I went to, I think it was I come out of rehab on the Friday, and I went to a tournament on the Sunday, and that was hard. Being in a pub environment, knowing that I wasn't drinking, but I coped all right. Didn't play great because I tried getting a dartboard in the rehab centre and they wouldn't let me because of gambling and everything else that comes with it. So then I think it took another couple of weeks before I went to another tournament, and I was dreadful. So I just practiced for a couple of months until it got closer to the time of my suspension ending.
And you come back and play competitive darts. I think in Gibraltar, was it the first one?
Yes, that was my first one back.
And what was that like?
It was okay. I managed to reach quarterfinals. I think it was on the final day, losing to Lewis Gurney. Mm-hmm. But just to be back in the environment, playing proper competitive darts was a good feeling, and doing it sober as well.
And then Coventry 103 average.
Yes,
is that when you start to feel that it's still there?
Yeah, that was a very good day, and I proved to myself that I've still got the ability there, and I don't need the alcohol. And as long as I'm focused and can focus, then the ability's there, and I can win a tournament.
And that's something that you said a lot. I've seen a lot of your social media stuff, statements you've made in the media is about proving yourself. You will be back. You'll get that opportunity again. Is that what
the
next few months in darts, the next few years in darts are about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got a few things booked up. Going to the Welsh Open next weekend. Then I've got Bridlington and Chelsea booked as well. There's a Lakeside qualifier. I could potentially go to that. If I get in, happy days, and just see how it is. But it's all a process of making sure I'm ready and up to scratch, ready for Q school, because that's the aim, is to get back to where I was. But yeah, on the sides of proving things, it's not just proving to others, but proving to myself that I can do it. And as I said to H last night, proving that this time it's genuine. It is me. This is I'm 7 months 21. Excuse me. 7 months 21 days clean and sober. No drink, no drugs, no gambling, nothing. Everything's out of my system. So this is clean talking. This is me. This is the real me.
Forget darts for a second. What else? What else have you proved to yourself in that period?
I mean, I have the occasional cigarette now, but I've give that up. Just vaping. Obviously, the alcohol's gone, and I've proven that I can do things on the straight and narrow. And if I've got the right tools to do it, then I can do anything.
I want to take you back to that press room I mentioned in December, but Dom Taylor sat at this side of the table, asking that Dom Taylor, or saying something to that Dom Taylor. What would you be saying to him?
Get help. Make sure you understand why, and acknowledge the facts and think about what you're going to say.
Well, Dom, thanks so much for speaking openly to us. I'm sure that it will help loads of people. Do really appreciate your honesty. That is the Tungsten Talk with Dom Taylor. If you have been affected by any of the themes in this conversation, there will be signposts to help at the end of this video. But do keep watching us here on the MODUS Super Series channel for plenty more from Tungsten Talk.